Okay, what is up? Welcome back to another Jump Tezuka episode. As always, well, not as always, RIP Jose. We're down Jose, have JJ again, so I think it's a net gain.
Yeah.
RIP Jose.
I mean, I'll take it. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know what the Jump Tezuka videos are, what the contest is about, it's a special 100th anniversary Tezuka Manga Award, and it's open internationally, which means aspiring mangaka from all around the world can submit their manga and get it judged by really famous mangaka. Talking Dragon Ball Z author, One Piece author, Blue Exorcist, My Hero Academia, Slam Dunk, and then the Tezuka production people. So it's a star-studded cast, and this is your chance. Winners get to be serialized into Shonen Jump and win a fat cash prize. So what we do here is we pick 3 or 4, depending on how many judges we personally have, and we go through, we read them, we give you a summary of what happens, and then at the very end of the episode, we pick what we think is our winner, and ultimately we will dwindle it down to the one we think should win. So this week, we are still doing 4, even though Jose is dead. We'll be doing his first, which is Decay, and this is the story is by Cody Bemis with art by Zach Williams. And by the way, these are all viewer-submitted ones. So they have reached out to us in some form, either whether that be in the comments. One of them is by an email. So if you've submitted one, leave us a comment. We'd love to check them out. We've kind of just been waiting and gathered them all up. And we officially have 4, so we're doing viewer submissions for this one. Next will be Sekai no Jikken by Osahon Ojo. I hope I said that name right. Next will be Emila the Slayer by Nathan Mawawa. Again, hope I said that right. And then the last one will be X-Road Strive or Crossroads Strive, up in the air. And the story's by Gray with art by Odysseys. That'll be the one that we'll finish off with. So Jose's was Decay. We're going to do that first, as I said. So let me pull up his notes. We'll live through the spirit of Jose. He sent me his notes. He finished everything. And hopefully we'll just kind of fill it in as we go.
Yep.
So the story starts... This is such Jose notes. Oh, my God. Starts in a forest with a deer. Okay, first line on the notes here.
I missed this.
So
I'm going back. He's right.
City of Gaia, 12 p.m. a public gathering. They discuss that the Bibles are deciding the rights of the common. I'm going to assume that is the royals and the nobles. They live on an island where they've had peace and all, but it's changed due to this new law. It happens. What can you do? And basically, the document states that anybody under the noble, like if you're not nobles, you can be bought and sold basically as slaves and be put to work doing whatever. And exotic animals and animals that are close to extinction are now just free game. Do whatever you want. It was signed by the princess of the Blackwater family. And then we go over to the Blackwater Gardens and we see that she's just walking her gardens, having a casual conversation with Oliver, who is head of the Royal Guard. And they're talking about their new law. Immediately, she comes out as being completely evil. You think she's kind of a nice princess, and she just immediately outs herself. Like, ha ha ha, dumb fucking idiots, is basically what she says.
Exactly.
A good paraphrase right there.
Yeah, and then Oliver seems like, I couldn't tell if maybe he was a good guy kind of undercover, because he kind of asked, like, hey, could you explain this law? Like, what? Like, why?
He felt like the character that was about to murder her.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, I was on edge whether or not he was actually a good guy. And she basically just explains like, oh, I'm just gaining power, and I'm going to control everything, yada, yada.
But she doesn't really explain how.
No, she does not explain how.
I don't really understand that part.
And then she also mentions that there's like knights and pirates who are going to like put in their own order and she's going to profit off of that somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to reread that because that's one of the things I had a gripe with. It was that specific text bubble was massive. But I feel like the pirates were a problem and the knights were going to be one of the solutions. Like it was her knights.
I kind of thought that as well. And then I was like, I don't know. Maybe they're both a problem. I don't know. So.
Yeah. But there's like monsters too and everything.
Yes.
But she's basically pushing a food chain thing.
She's basically like, I'm going to restore order. We're the superior. Everybody else sucks. So this is the way it's going to be.
And by the way, they've had 10 years of peace and she's just decided no more.
Just now she's like, fuck it, forget it.
Yeah.
So they're interrupted by a sailor who she seems to be setting off soon. And they need her to sign a paper to just head over a shipment to a key figure. Doesn't really come into play at all. And then she sits down for some more tea, and that's when a knight comes shouting because the citizens are storming the entrance of Blackwater Estate, and they want to kill them all, obviously, rightfully so. They don't want to be sold as livestock and bullshit.
Yeah.
And then you find out that the city of Gaia is the capital of he has Iseria here. I can't remember. I think that's right.
Either
It is. Yeah, I'm looking at it
And
right now.
it's
either I or is Syria.
yeah,
one
and
of the
it's
two.
made up of 80% forest, which also like contains a fuck ton of wildlife and stuff. So that's kind of the animal hunting side of it. And basically, it all comes to a head when this badass looking woman comes out of nowhere, and the leader of the revolution is like, "Oh, you're gonna help us, right? This is gonna be great. You heard our calls for help." And she basically like shoves her hand into his face and like sucks the soul out of him.
Much.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
And she's just like, "Oh yeah, fighting for peace in this world is better for it to decay away." And that's the end.
I will
She
say.
does mention that her name is
Sabara,
Celeria
right?
Tombs.
That
Okay.
was totally
Yes.
off.
Yes.
Yes.
Just to put that out there.
I
Yeah,
was
that is
literally on the same
right.
page.
And this was there's probably the shortest one that we did today or this week.
Yes.
Yes, 37 pages.
And there was 2 pages of advertisements.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
It felt almost like 3 because there was one that was like a hold pot thing with a big ass dragon, which looked really cool, and then a random ad, and then pretty much buy the book.
Yeah.
Which was really strange.
Yeah, because they
very
have a bunch
refreshing
of
to
different
break it up.
versions uploaded to the thing when I was trying to figure out
They
which one
did.
is to read. And there's one that's like parentheses exclusive, and I assume that's if you buy it, you can read that one. I don't know how it
Maybe.
works. Whoever, I don't know if their friend owns whatever Pop Vault is, shout out. They got fat advertisements in this manga.
Yeah.
So it reminded me of like a comic, like a legitimate like American comic where they have the ads in the middle of the fucking comic like that.
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of. I was like, oh, okay, sure.
It was a little jarring because I was like, is that it? Is that the end?
But
It can't be
it's
the end.
It's a nice power play to kind of say, like, this is what we would look like if we were in a normal setting where we would have ads, mid-roll ads, as Sam would call them.
Yeah,
What was-
I don't believe Jump does mid-roll ads.
Oh.
I could be wrong.
U.S. Shonen Jump, I think for sure did.
Okay.
I don't
It's been a
know
minute.
anything about how Weekly Shonen Jump is presented in Japan. I have no idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Did anyone else feel weird though during the conversation between they didn't give him a name, but like the main protester guy and Celeria? Celeria? Did it just feel like we went from this like super chaotic moment, like shit was about to go down, she shows up and they're like, let's pause. Let's just have a normal conversation between each other, like, hey, do you want to join this? This seems like you should want to join us. And then she kills him.
Yeah, but he could have
And
been
then-
doing that the whole time, and then it's just like, oh, here's this one conversation, because like you gotta recruit people as you go. It's like, hey, we're doing this. Here's why. Come on. And then
But
she's
I
like,
just
yeah,
feel like-
no.
The recruitment during a siege felt that
You need
felt
more.
jarring to me.
You're gonna run out.
I totally agree. It's just like there's one specific page. I think it's 31. I'm looking at it right now. I don't know if it's just the way his face was drawn, but it seemed like he was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Like
Like
you
where he
want
has
to
the
join?
question mark behind his head.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's just got like that shaggy kind of like, "Hey, man, how's it going? You want to like join our cool fucking crew? We're down with the establishment."
Yeah, so when she first appears, there's like all these beams of sunlight. So I kind of get the feeling that it's like, when like a mythical figure appears on the battlefield.
That is true.
So he's like, "Oh, we're saved. She's gonna help us fight," and then she definitely does not do that.
Yeah.
Which I gotta say I thought was kind of cool that like the cover character wasn't necessarily a good person, and like there's now like that was a plot twist because it was kind of going weird. I thought the sailor and I thought the butler were both going to try and attempt to kill the Blackwater chick, and then we're like, oh cool, we've got the, like JJ said, the mythical character showing up to like turn the tides, and then she's like, nah. So it's kind of like there wasn't a whole lot of cliche that happened right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they do set up like the only couple of things, and you mentioned it also. They have like they have problems with monsters and shit also. So it's like they set up more stuff like pirates, the knights. They have problems with monsters. There's really other powerful beings. I think they mentioned at one point. There's like they don't have it great. So it's like part of the reason she's like, oh, I'm just gonna take control of that all. So she might kind of be trying, but she just comes off immediately as a dickhead at the start. So, and I'm talking about the princess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I do have a gripe with the sailor, because he's just getting paperwork signed.
Yeah.
There's got to be like a dockmaster or someone to take care of that. You don't bring it to the actual literal princess of the island.
I think that's
BS.
JJ's more of a story writer than anyone in our crew, and I would say you're completely correct, but I think you would agree it's just to push one part of the narrative, just to like, hey, there's some sailing shit happening.
Sure. They also mentioned someone named Preston, who was a key figure of an island.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
think that
say,
is that who the shipment's going to? I think
yeah,
yeah, it's,
yeah. They don't say what island it's going to. It could be on this island.
Also, did anyone feel like the knight was going to be a bigger character?
No.
The guard who
Oh.
reported it.
Yeah, he just seemed like a oddly designed character. He had like a special helmet looking thing, showed up, revealed the news, and then his like runoff sequence is him like clanking.
He's the Royal Guard.
I think
Yeah.
that might just be like a little bit of comedy, because anytime you see any guards in a scene, there's a whole bunch of clanking all around.
Got you.
And if not comedy, then immersion, to show that they're wearing big metal suits of armor against these peasants in clothes.
Do you
go
guys
ahead.
like it?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem
was
with
pretty
it.
good.
It's so I do think the art style is pretty unique compared to a lot
Yeah.
of the stuff that we've read already.
Yeah, I
which-
definitely have that written down. That
Which
it's
is good.
unique art, which is
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have personally, and this is just because I'm spoiled, I would have personally liked it a little bit more cleaned up, but I definitely felt like it was kind of like it's not normal manga stuff, which is cool. I agree, it was cool.
I do think that a villain kind of story could be cool, but I do think that it's also going to be hard going forward to make the main character, who is a villain, relatable. Because I feel like if your characters aren't strong and relatable, then the longevity of the series might not be so great. Personally, I'd like to see Celeria just go wreck Claire in the
Yeah.
second chapter.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
Like anti-hero style, where she's just kind of like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be dope.
But I mean, as far as we know, there might be more. We just have to pay for it because that's kind of what the whole setup of the manga was.
True.
It's like
Yeah.
buy the actual manga, you'll get to see more. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Well, that was Decay, and once again, the story was by Cody Bemis with art by Zach Williams. So that was the first one. We're gonna move on now to Sekai no Jikken by Osahon Ojo, and that's yours, JJ, right? So go ahead.
First off, I just kind of picked this one because the cover reminded me a little bit of JoJo.
It did.
In Arc 3, there's a character, he has a phoenix type stand, and that's kind of what this reminded me of. But I don't think that this bird creature on the cover is this guy's power.
It's not, but I'm wondering if that's something they'll allude to later, like he inherits it or something. But I do want to
that's
point
good.
out, since we've been doing this for a bit, I've actually seen this pretty early on, like this artwork, and I think we've talked about reading it, so it's kind of cool that we've seen it before, and then now we're getting the users to ask us to read these.
So jumping in, we start off with the classic scene of tough guy looking tough, giving off a little bit of sound effects bubbles, also very JoJo, and then immediate 180 where he's sitting there trying to look tough, but actually he's crying. Apparently he's been in some sort of fight. He tries to explain it as a pack of bears, a pack of wolves, or
Yep.
that he even fell down in the bathroom. So then we're introduced to his mom and his stepbrother. His mom is pretty concerned for him, and she seems to be a mix between doting and caring and kind of a badass. And then we also meet the stepbrother, who we later find out, kind of spoilers, I guess. His name is Hikaru. Oh, I don't even know if I said the main character's name. Our main character is named Fenkuro Futago. I don't believe the mom has a name quite yet. So it turns out that Fenkuro was beaten up by a bunch of girls at school.
Immediately relatable.
Badass mom steps in and comforts him and says, "You're you. Basically, you can do whatever you want. You don't need to fight to be a good person." The stepbrother, starts coughing up blood, and we find out that he stepped in to kind of help Fenkuro when he was getting beat up, and he was doing fine until the older brothers of the girls started beating him up. We learned that both him and his stepbrother had been bullied growing up, and his stepbrother grew stronger while he remained a pacifist. And then he mentions not being able to hurt a kitten, even if he tried, and that's when we see a loud scream, and then a big-ass paw just burst through the wall. Enter this cat snake monster guy. He somehow knows who Fenkuro is. He just starts beating up on poor Fenkuro here, who is a pacifist and won't fight back. Cat monster is kind of getting bored of him. Guy with gun shows up.
Guy with gun.
Guy with gun.
I had that
At
written
first,
down.
I was a little bit confused when it first like shows him. I thought maybe the snake was a part of him, and I was like, weird, they both have snakes, but it's just
Mhm.
like the cat guy's tail. So they get into a quick little bout, and then we see the cool big bird from the cover show
Mhm.
up carrying Fen Kuro, and so they go through a teleport or portal rather, which might be the bird.
I think it is because I got
But
confused with that too. I thought he just duped out, but you're right. And then like the next page after, they show the triangle and the bird comes out of it.
yeah, well,
So
and it has like a chat bubble coming out of the triangle as well. Turns out that the building had been reduced to shit, quotes,
this is
by
true.
the time that guy with gun got there, and that Fenkur was the only one who they found. And then I guess we come out of the flashback that we've been in since the beginning of the manga. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And we just see Fenkuro get decked in the face. We learn that he was in a sparring match with Elida Kylie and her robot rabbit Red under the tutelage of Guy with Gun, who turns out to be Vlepo Balkans, nicknamed
Yeah.
Bullet. Fenkuro tries to kind of explain away, oh, she cheated, I wasn't ready. But everybody's basically just like, no, you weren't paying attention, you got beat. And then we're introduced to Danshingo Neku, also known as Danshi. He's this tiger-looking fella, and he seems to be a real hothead and seems to clash a lot with Fenkuro's stepbrother Hikaru, who is also here.
They had a lot of great bants between Danshi and Hikaru, though. Like there was
Yeah,
a
a lot
lot
of
of
good, a lot of good nicknames flying around.
yeah.
Caterpillar Eyebrows was one of them.
All the short jokes were fucking mean, but they were like grade A in my opinion. I want to keep those in my book.
And then it kind of transitions into like a little little class lesson here, where we learn about the beast mentors, where people kind of have abilities tied in with different beasts. Find out that there are mergers who can fuse with their animals, duos who kind of work with their beast but also kind of have like a little bit of their powers, and then there are tamers who are basically just like Pokemon trainers, and they can't do anything and the animal just does everything for them. And then we get a lot of talking between Fenkuro and Hikaru, and they talk about whether their mother might still be alive. We learn that Hikaru wants to become the imperial commander of the human nation. In the end, he just wants Fenkuro to bring their mom home because he knows that he's growing too weak to be able to do much, probably in the coming days.
He's got like a year to live, right? Is what they were saying.
Yeah, yep, that was said at some point. He was told that he only had about a year to live because of his sickness, although I still don't think they said what was wrong with him. Meanwhile, over in a big city of sorts, we learn that the leader of the Reptile Nation has demanded a conference with the Six Nations in light of the current incident with the Dark Hand. So that's leading us to believe that, obviously we've already heard of the Human Nation. Now there's a Reptile Nation, so it seems like there might be 4 other beast nations that we aren't quite aware of at this point, but it seems like whatever happened with the Dark Hand is some serious business, because it looks like the human leader and the lizard leader are pulling their armies back to their main cities, because all hell is about to break loose, and that is the end. So yeah, that was Sekai no Jikken.
So like immediately to me, the artwork was like very unique. I didn't personally like it all that much, but again, it was like, it's kind of cool seeing something that's not manga all the time, where it's like super repetitive. And so yeah, I did like that.
So yeah, the art is definitely unique. I'm no artist, so I feel bad saying that it could definitely use, some polishing.
I like the story for the most part. I thought the intro was a little weird, like that whole thing with the mother and the brother. It felt a little weird, but after I finished the whole thing, it kind of was like, okay, cool. It was a flashback, and it kind of set up, like you were saying, the mom's badass. But yeah, I didn't like it at the beginning, and then after it was like, okay, that's not so bad.
It's definitely wordy. I will say that.
Yeah.
I know that's a concern with some of these. I think I would have liked to seen more of the post flashback rather than quite so much that we saw of the pre flashback.
I agree.
Like, I know
Yeah.
that's setting up the main character and kind of his whole thing and his whole motivation because his mom's gone. I just think I would have liked to see more of Denshingu and Alita and maybe learn where they're going on their little mission. I don't think that they said why they're kind of training where they are.
And the reason Bleppo didn't end up killing the bunny guy was because his bird was saying like, hey, like our boss or whatever was basically saying, hey, this is the mission, we need to get the fuck out, like that's it, don't do any extra.
Yeah, no need to get your hands dirty.
Well, there was another person there with them, is what they were talking about. So that's how the stepbrother survived. There was another chick who went to the other room, and she retrieved the stepbrother, but they could not find the mother.
Oh!
So they came there for the mother. I'm saying it. The fucking monsters came there, abducted the mother, didn't give a fuck about the kids, and the other people, probably friends of the mom, came to protect the kids, and they were too late for the mom, so they just got the two little kids out there.
I can see that being a thing.
Well, fuck.
Did they say that there was another person there?
Yes.
That is cool. I like that a little bit better, but...
Oh, that's right. I remember. They mentioned Penelope.
Mm-hmm.
Penelope.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and how pissed would you be if you were a tamer out of the three? That's the worst one by far.
Yeah, that would be a little rough.
I'd be so fucking butt blasted if I was a tamer.
I mean, the good part about that is you can kind of send your beast in and kind of stay back, so you don't have to risk yourself in combat.
Dude, doesn't it state that their main focus is to use their beast as a shield? It's like that shit sucks.
And
it's like,
you could do your taxes the whole time.
Yeah, it's like you don't get any of their abilities. You could just command them. No thanks.
But what I don't know if like it was really well shown, but in the 3 diagrams, it seemed like there's some symbiotic relationship. Obviously, they kind of allude to you get powers, but it's like through their heart was kind of cool. But
I didn't know if that
unless
was
you're tamer,
just...
let me tell you. So.
And I don't know if that's just kind of like showing the distribution of the power. Because the first one kind of shows the two of them together. And then in the duos, each person has a heart, and then the tamers only the beast has the little heart.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I'd be pissed.
I should have known that. Like, I should have seen that because I know Sam's opinion on the quirks in My Hero Academia. If you get a shit one, it's
what's the point? What's the point?
Actually, just being a human, in his opinion.
Wow, I can tame an animal. I'm just a regular human. Thank
you. In this world, yes, but come Pokemon world, I would still want to be a Pokemon trainer rather than just basic.
Yeah, but if other people confuse with their Pokemon or get the abilities of their Pokemon, then you're pissed.
I would definitely feel gypped. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like an unfair... they merged Digimon and Pokemon.
So if they try what I assume is they'll try to set some sort of a rock, paper, scissors of the 3, I would love to see how a tamer works. I would love to see it because it seems like they got fucking gypped.
No, it'll be super cool. Don't
I
you worry.
fucking doubt it.
Can beat the merger because the animal can attack the merged being while the tamer himself can file his taxes and not get in trouble with the IRS.
Okay, in this world of Sekai no Jikken, if I was merger, I would just attack the guy who's doing nothing.
But the beast is a shield. He's giving you trouble.
Good luck, dude. Good luck.
And meanwhile, the human guy just sits back and he's like, okay, now I got time to think strategy.
If you look at the photo or the drawing, personally, when I first saw it, I literally thought it was like a bodysuit. You just got inside of your beast and you were inside as that form of a shield. I think you guys are correct and you stand behind it and hide. I think Sam is also correct. You go for that guy.
Yes.
But the thing about being a Pokemon
because that guy's commanding. Just take him out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the thing with, switching over to actual Pokemon here. Team Rocket just needs to attack Ash. Screw Pikachu. Take out Ash and Pikachu's, just there for the taking.
But you could boil that down to like any army move. Obviously, you would love to take out the commander, but you have a bunch of people.
Yeah, except in this world, the commander is
literally
right behind him.
The issue I was trying to point out...
Josh, you're not going to spin this into a positive. There's no fucking way.
No, I'm not. But I'm going to counter on the Team Rocket statement because I have a little bit more of a background in this. You can summon more than one Pokemon. It feels like in this world, you're shit out of luck and you're stuck with one.
They usually seem to summon just one Pokemon, so...
They're not... Okay, but they're not in a
I mean, I
world where
think
they're not allowed to.
outside of official battles, they have been known to summon more than one.
I know
Uh,
exactly how Sam would play Pokemon now.
Back to Sekai no Jikken.
Did you guys like it? I thought it was all right. Like, I didn't hate it or not like it, but I felt like it was kind of, yeah, it was good. Like, the world building was nice and everything. It wasn't too forced, but
I did think it was good. Like I said, I think it might have been a little wordy. I would have liked to see some of the characters teased on the cover and on the back cover.
mhm.
You see this like samurai guy with the little pom-pom hair going on. It would have been cool to see, especially since he's on the both back and front. But yeah, I thought it definitely has kind of a big world set up to explore. But I might have, like I said earlier, I think I would have liked to know more about what Bullet is doing with these kids and kind of why he's training them and what they're all about.
Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit the opposite. I feel like I like the beginning part with the mother and the animals and them being attacked. I could have used less of the kids fighting. I don't really care. Like,
it did go on for a while.
Yeah, it's like that was too long. There were multiple pages. Like, what, we gonna fight? No, we're not gonna fight. Oh, I'm gonna throw another insult. Well, we gonna fight now? I don't know if we're gonna fight. It's like, okay, I'm done with that. I've been there, done that. I would have rather have seen those pages allocated to finding out what JJ said. I would agree with JJ. I would have rather that been allocated to why are we training? What are we doing? What is our group's goal? Because we don't know.
Or at least have one goal, because I think we all agree we don't want to have everything spoiled. So at least like knowing what they're going to be doing for this main mission, or see something.
Well, like, are they an assassination group? Are they what are they doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Are they going to go meet their beast?
Oh,
it's a spiritual journey they're going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely agree, Sam. The beginning wasn't wasted. I just think maybe he spent Fenkuro spent a little too much time beating himself up.
Okay, I would agree with that. Let's slim some of that out. Slim out the shit of them wanting to fight. We'll call it.
Yeah.
All right.
Agreed.
Okay, so that was Sekai no Jikken by Osahon Ojo. Next, we're going to move on to Emila the Slayer by Nathan Mawawa.
All right. So, yeah, this was the one I got. So basically, you start off 8 years in the past in like a burning city with an escaping family during a riot. The child's parents are like literally executed in front of her. And then she's saved by this dude who reveals later on that his name is Nello. Then they immediately go into this like weird bit of exposition where basically Nello talks to Emila, which is the child, and tells her, I'm going to train you. I'm going to do all this. You're under my wing. But there is some stuff like basically what she was going to be learning was way too in detail for me. Like that could have been a flashback to a training arc or something like that. And you kind of skip forward. We're in the essentially what's being a coup of the royal palace. The guards are getting fucking blasted, like brutally murdered. And it seems like it's a gang called let me see where I have it. It is the Ilray gang.
Yep.
They want to kidnap the prince, but you're not sure. They kind of seem like they're disjointed in the sense like they don't work together. They're just there to work. And they're kind of like looking for money or power. They don't really kind of explain their morals, but
they say they're looking for money. They want to be rich.
So basically they kidnap the prince, and the king and queen are in a separate bunker. And then we hard cut to Emila and Nello basically playing a playful game of murder trap. He tried to kill her with a fucking arrow, and she's like, haha, I'm too fast for you now. I never want to be on that master mentorship level. That's fucking insane. So basically Nello reveals to, and I'm cracking up because I kept trying to not read it as Amelia, and even my Word document that has all my notes has changed it to Amelia, email, and I keep looking over and I keep forgetting what the fuck I'm about to say. But basically, Nello reveals to Emila that a gang stole the prince and that he has unfinished business with this specific gang. And Emila basically says, oh, I'll go wipe them out. Fuck it. And he's like, no, you probably could, which is like an exposition saying she's broken as fuck strong. And he agrees that she would have been able to do that. But he alludes to basically they have lost team members over the last few years or something like that. So he doesn't want her getting hurt. So he wants to go with her. And then all of a sudden, a worldwide broadcast is going of the captured prince, and now the boss comes on the screen and basically says, hey, the royal family, we want €1 billion. You have 15 hours, I believe, to deliver all this, or we will literally cut your kid's throat on fucking live. Not a good way to go about it. And basically, we end on Emila. We cut to her, and she's like gripping her fist, and she's like, bruh, I think that's the guy that killed my parents. So I thought that was a great cliffhanger to end on.
So I think that's good. That was a great summary. The only thing I would just put the definition of Bereki in there, and it's a bracelet that can turn into one of 5 weapons, which we only see 2.
Yeah, we see
I
sword
would have
and shield.
totally put that in there
Yeah.
had
Although
I
we have seen
remembered
people with
that
guns.
was something.
Yeah, but I didn't know
Did
if that
have
was a
guns.
Bereki.
Yeah, no, I think it would be because the way he blew that dude's head
Yeah,
was
but that could just be a
essentially-
gun. It's like
I don't think
Yeah, it
any
could just
gun
be a
just takes
typical
a
gun.
he didn't
we-
say
cylinder.
Bereki
Yeah, we
Kai,
never-
whatever.
That
Right,
is
we
true.
never see him turn it into one, but a lot of people are carrying guns when they. Well, I guess not everybody has the little bracelet, huh?
Yeah.
So
That's
I
true.
will just say, I didn't know it was attached to a bracelet. Did not read that.
It's
I
in the
just
literal
remembered that-
first page. So and
Yeah,
it
it's
could
like
be
this big dual disc looking guy.
yeah, and it could be a sword, a bow, a shield, a baton. I don't know why in God's green earth you would ever pick a baton or a gun.
Non-lethal damage.
non-lethal. And
Fucking pick a
Sam,
gun every time, dude. Just like, oh yeah, here's your 5 choices. There's obviously gonna be a lot of edgelords who pick a sword. You go straight for the gun. Easy gun.
I see what happened here. I saw the page where it teaches you how to read a manga, and I was like, don't worry, I'm an expert. Hard skip that shit and went to the cutback. I thought the art was good. I thought the story was concise. It was a little. I guess some of the communication was a little weird because they're trying to go for like this European style, like British.
Yeah, I
they-
feel like it's a person whose first language is not English,
yes.
trying to use a British setting and trying to communicate that through some of the terminology.
Well, they explain what taking the piss is in one of the
Yeah.
chat bubbles.
Which
Like,
we
hey,
did
just in
not
case
need.
you don't know, here it is.
Not everybody knows that. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Taking a piss.
Some other stuff from the story I thought was interesting. And there was one part that made me laugh in the beginning when I shouldn't have laughed. It's Emila's about to be executed, and the bad guy's like, oh, no one's going to come here to save you. Next ping, Clash saved. I was like, okay. It's like, we not going to save anybody or what? What's going to be the choice here?
So when I first saw it, there's obviously I forget what streaming service, but basically the new Watchmen series. They do the Black Wall Street.
HBO, I believe.
Yeah, they do the Black Wall Street bombing. I feel like I'm slightly racist for having assumed this, but it felt like that. The world, like the city was burning, the parents were trying to get the kid away, and I thought, oh shit, the kid's gonna fucking die too.
Yeah, I think he called it a riot at one point. Like, in the middle of a riot.
Yeah.
So
I have a couple of things.
go for it.
The first one definitely goes back to the language thing, because they were looking for tape for her bruises.
Yeah,
Which
was
is
funny.
funny, because in the previous one, the one that we just Sekai no Jikken, the mother bandages up his bruises. So I was
Yeah.
like, that's kind of a weird parallel there.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. That's a good call.
So that's just kind of like a thing that I noticed. You skipped the Karugen. I'll say Karugen.
So it kind of brought it up. It was basically the training thing. He said, "I'm going to train you for 6
Yeah.
years and do all this."
But you skipped the whole part where it takes 6 years to master. A mark will appear on the body if it is mastered. Then you have to be wounded near the mark to trigger the attack.
Do you see my
But
face
if you
right now,
can
Jay?
get all of that to happen, no, I can't.
If you look at my face right now, you
Alright,
would
alright.
understand why I hard skipped the fuck out
Josh,
of
but that's I agree with JJ. I wrote that down too because that
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Yeah, because
So I do have it written as a thing. Like,
you missed the best part, because if you meet all of those prerequisites, you get to erase your opponent from existence and cause an
Yeah.
earthquake.
this is a good point. Again, so I do have this as a note. I basically was like I had my summary, and I basically said I like the premise of the story. it's mildly cliched, but I think we're in a genre of stuff where we're just going to get some regurgitated stuff, and I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the cliche. It's just how you use it.
Yeah.
And if you're just going to use it as the cliche itself, well, then, it's not going to stand out all that much.
Exactly. And the issue I had was their first interaction. This dude just saves a kid's life. He seems like he's literally just trying to prevent some shit happening in the riot. Goes to save her, and he basically just says, "Here's your name." Like, he gets her real name, but he's like, "Here's your nickname. I'm gonna train you for 6 years. I'm gonna do this and this and this and this," and it just was egregious. And what I wrote in here, because I don't want to sit here and be like, I don't like it. What I would have preferred they had done with that, because I think that whole basis is cool. Like, it's not very repetitive or anything like that. It's very niche, and you have to like really go for it. But that's like final move territory. You're up against the bad guy, and I would have preferred like a small like flashback arc between Nello and Emila, where it's like, I trained to do this move, and she has the mark. I didn't need to know about the mark, the 6 years of training, the brutal training that it is, exactly what it does. I would have preferred if he's like, I'll teach you, and I'll teach you like a top secret move. You could word it way better, but I'm just basically saying we could have cut out all the definitions.
I disagree 100%.
Sure,
you liked it.
You want them to kind of foreshadow something that they can later be like, oh, plot device.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is where Sam's about to go with it, but I like that they lay it out like this. Because then when she uses it later and it saves the day big time, it's not like, well, she just pulled that out of her ass.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
And I think it's important to know, because the fucking way it activates is so dumb. And it's like, you have to get them to wound a mark on your body in particular. That it's like, that is very key. Okay, this is the one that Josh had mentioned earlier. That this is the one that already has 2 chapters. There's 2 chapters of this. So it's very clear that is probably going to come up almost immediately.
I bet you the bandage that she has on her arm is her mark.
Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch.
So it's going to come, and I would just cover my whole body with marks. Like, hey, how many years of training to get a fuck ton of them?
6 times however many you want.
And so do they disappear once they're used? Like, I want to know. It's like, because if, let's say somebody fucks you up really bad right where your mark is, that's going to be a scar, then the mark's fucked. So
yeah.
But I think the mark is sort of like supernatural. It's not necessarily just, oh, you get a piece of marker on your skin now. I think if you get hit there and there's a scar, it'll still show.
But I mean,
because it definitely doesn't seem like it's a one and done type ability.
Well, I mean, you kind of cause an earthquake and they vanish. But I would also argue that if you literally get stabbed and or injured in the same fucking spot every time to unleash your super move, problem is that entire side of your body is going to get dicked already. So you're just like always going to try and force the shot there.
Yeah.
The reason I don't like it, and I agree. I thought about that too. Is like, okay, what if now I don't feel like it's a plot device where they're just like, I made this shit up on the fly. They're going up against the bad guy. The issue I have is now I know how she will kill the main bad guy. Like, it's immediately laid on the floor. As soon as there's any level of like difficulty for her, it's like, just shove your thing into his sword and bam, he's gone.
I mean, okay, counterpoint. Fucking, you watch Ichigo train for Bankai in the Soul Society arc, and it's like, wow, I wonder how he's going to defeat the bad guy.
But it's like coming up to, I guess, like, this is the very beginning, and now they have, like, I don't know how long the story is going to go for, but it's always going to be in the back of my mind. She's got fucking vanish powers at this point.
Sure.
So that was my gripe with it.
Also, turn out to be a red herring.
Oh.
And no matter how hard she tries, the villain sees the mark and's like, no, I gotta do everything I can to not hit that, otherwise I'm gonna die.
Yep.
And then she just turns around and is a badass anyway and kills him without it.
Now imagine this. What if they both have a mark and they're playing a game of trying to see who can hit the other person's mark?
Okay.
That's a good one.
I didn't have the fucking read. I'm sorry, guys.
So that could be pretty good. And what are the logistics, by the way? If I was to paper cut my own mark, does the mark know that I did it?
You know damn well that's what we'd be trying.
It's like, just gotta double check. Or like, what if I have, like, we're in a party and I have Josh cut my mark?
Yeah.
Like,
just like accidentally bumps into you a little hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just earthquake out of nowhere. Josh is gone.
And then I think this was part of the language barrier also, but they got me laughing at two parts. One at the very beginning, the part I already said, and then at the end when the broadcast was happening, and he was like, "I will execute him in live broadcast. Period. The execution will be me slicing his neck." It's like I'm glad we got the explicit instructions on how the execution is going to be, and it's like that's not even that bad of an execution. It's someone's just gonna slice your neck. That's getting off easy.
Yeah, there was a lot of intensity for a lot of this stuff, and it feels like it didn't need to be. I think that was like a translation.
But I appreciated very front end. Hey, it uses the term Bereki. Here's what you need to know. Here's what it does. And everybody has these things or the 5 different transform. I was like, that's cool. I like that. And then
as long as you don't skip that page.
Yeah. Yes. You're right.
I need a wide backdrop of a world saying, in a world 1,000 years into the future, we have weapons known as Bereki. And then just do like Avatar The Last Airbender shit where they kind of explain what each one does. Yeah. Not on the fucking manga.
My biggest gripe with this manga is the fact that 2 people had a fucking katana Bereki. That is my biggest gripe. There are 5 of them. Let's get somebody else, please. I don't need another katana Bereki.
So I do have one last thing for this one. It's kind of a gripe. The king and queen meet at least one, if not 2 of these guys. I think it's just one.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just get the money from him then? It's like, there's the actual king and queen. Yo, give me $1 billion, I won't kill you.
I can answer
I'm
this.
sorry, JJ. Do you just walk around with $1 billion on you at all times?
I can answer
no.
this.
Okay, go.
They didn't expect, because they kind of said, "Oh, aren't we lucky to have already found you?" I think they got a message like, "Hey, we already spent too much money on a worldwide production. This is live streaming out to too many people. Do not murder them. Do not fucking mug them." I also have a hard-on for slitting people's throat. He has clearly done it multiple times. He did it to the parents, and he just wants to do it to the kid. So he's already invested probably 1 billion euros at this point, and he's just trying to recoup the cost.
Gotcha.
So that's my...
I just think if it was so easy for them to get to the king and queen, they could have just focused their efforts on just kind of holding them up and getting the money from them.
I did kind of think that was going to happen at one point because they tell the king and queen what their plan is when they see we're going to take your kid. And they're like, no, please don't touch the kid. It's like, okay, so we're just going to negotiate right here. And then it cut away and they survive. Like they were just totally fine. And I was like, okay.
It felt like a very weird time skip. Like everything had happened and nothing at all also happened. Like it was just weird.
Shield guy gets shot.
He got
and then the
fucking glacked.
The king is mad, and then we switch to the sun, and we never see the king and queen again.
And it sets up to the second chapter well, because like it's very quick. It's like, here we go. This is what's going to happen next. But like in the terms of it being, I think it's supposed to just be a one-shot for the competition. Like I don't know the rulings on 2 chapters because as I found out in the next manga we're going to talk about, 55 pages is the limit. So people are getting around that, but I was like, I'm just going to do a chapter 2. But I think they want a one-shot. Like, they're like, we just want your one-shot so we can serialize it, people can see it, and then, yada, yada. So I like this one, like I said, but in terms of it being a one-shot, it could have been better.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Especially as a one-shot, I would have liked to see Emila wreck house.
Yeah.
I liked seeing her as a hot chick, so we
she's
grew up way different than I expected her to.
Yep, sure. And she looks like a total badass. So
would have liked to have seen it.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was Emila the Slayer. That was by Nathan Mawawa. We're doing one more, and it is X-Roads Strive or Crossroads Strive, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And the story is by Gray, and the art is by Odysseys. I really tried to go the Josh route on this, but there was a lot to cut into. It's a very meta manga. It's like I'll just start explaining it and you'll see. So the first few pages, many pages, is talking about the actual competition and who's judging, what the competition is. Which great strategy, by the way. Butter them up. Get them right in there. Talk about how much you love them.
Yep. And they did like there's a part where they mention the My Hero guy, and they do a little thing where he makes himself look like All Might. And I know it's not like a major like art style to do just that face, but I was like, oh, that's cool. Like they're showing that they can do other stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you could tell immediately by that. Like that was well done. And then basically, Adi wants to join, but Liam, the other character, does not. And this is where I learned something new about Tezuka Productions here. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Osamu Tezuka is the guy that the whole thing is based on from Tezuka Productions. And he wrote Astro Boy and Blackjack, and they list a bunch more, but those are like the two biggest ones. I was like, I had no fucking idea. News to me.
Yeah, it is super crazy.
So we get a weird part in there, and it's kind of a downer about Liam's sad backstory about him getting abused by his parents when he was little.
Yeah.
And the issue isn't, so normally that's like a very strong story to build upon. This has been very clear from like the get-go. I think this is them and they're just telling a story.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
oh fuck, dude, I'm sorry to hear that. Like,
I know.
But I'm glad, like, I don't want to go too far into it because obviously this is Sam's, but fuck, like, great job. You made an awesome thing out of like a shitty experience. So like, props to you guys. Fuck.
Yeah, it was a wild turn. I was not expecting. I was like, wow, okay, geez. And so it basically this nice little rehash of the competition and what's going on. It basically ends with them saying no matter what, if they win or lose, they'll be able to say thank you to the authors and all that.
Yeah.
Which was very nice. It's like,
Yes.
okay, very nice. I get it. Still, butter them up. Fucking go for it, dude. Hell yeah. So you kind of, they give you the end. Like that's the end. But then Adi pops up and he's like, yeah, hey, I was thinking our gag manga would be 55 pages, which is, the max. And it's like, okay. And they mentioned that they're working on another manga, which I think is already submitted as well. I think they've submitted the both of them.
Xenotype too.
And they're like, well, we're working on the other one. And this one, we already hit page 16. So it's like, we might as well. So Liam starts kind of going wild and says if they want suspense, he has to give up his power over the plot because he's kind of like the direction guy while Adi is like the artiste,
Yes.
Yeah.
And just then some demon elf girl busts through the wall. And then the sheer, I don't know, awesome power of Liam just rips off most of her clothes. It was just like, yep, that's just going to happen. And so you find out the girl's name is Muse, and she's the cliche conquest waifu that appeals to the readers with very low attention span.
I cracked the fuck up.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is so meta and like just weird. It's like it's like you're learning a little bit about like the creation. Like, yeah, here's this little character we're gonna throw in there, and then it's funny and it's like the art style, by the way, is fantastic all the way through.
Great
those are my first two notes for this one. Yeah. This is meta and I love it, and the art is fantastic.
Yeah.
I have 3 notes if I could just. It is art is fantastic, bro, and this was phenomenal. So continue.
You find out she comes to warn them about something, and then she's like, fuck, and they hear a noise outside, and a giant fuck-all demon monster thing that's like made out of paper or ink is outside.
It's a combination of both, yeah.
It's called Saga. That's what they refer to this monster as. And Muse says like, oh, well, Liam, by having given up the power to control the direction of the story, he's also given up the ability to end it. So it kind of runs wild. And it's like, shit. And that's when they get the quote, as storytellers, our greatest obligation is to our readers, not to the story itself, which I don't know how true I would say that is. I'm obviously not a writer or an artist, but I think there's something to be said of just sticking true to yourself and fucking the readers. I think that works totally good as well. Yeah. So then they get confronted by rogue idea seeds, and Adi rips off his shirt with a drawing tablet in hand, and he's fucking jacked. Like, you just found out he's muscly as fuck.
Yeah, I love when you see Muse down in the corner all chibi. She's like, why is he so jacked?
Yeah. And so you find out his full name is obviously Odysseus, which is the artist of the manga. And he is a, quote, virtuoso prodigy with an incredible gift. And Liam is the pretty one. So that is our setup. Those are the two guys right there.
But
I was dying on that last panel where he's like, oh, I'm the pretty one.
Yeah.
But the reason he's jacked, and they kind of explain it, is because they basically say, what is it? Hayao Miyazaki said that it was anime is a mistake because basically it creates otakus and nobody wants to talk to each other, so you don't understand how other people like function. You don't see their bodies and all this other stuff. So he purposely went out of his way to get jacked so that he could use himself as a fucking reference, which was just like, I loved it. The whole thing was fucking great.
Yeah.
So a fight ensues, which, by the way, incredible. Great job. Adi eventually gets hit, and he starts to kind of have like doubts about himself. It's very meta. He gets like, oh, maybe this isn't right. Maybe it's true that like mangaka outside of Japan just can't make it. And so Liam shows him up, like the good, I guess you call him a manager, or like, I don't know, art editor or story editor,
Yeah.
and it kind of snaps them out of it, bringing them back to reality. And that's when Saga spits ink at them, and Muse is like, "Oh, don't get touched by the ink. You'll become part of the story." And Liam just fucking blocks the ink. It's just like, "Yeah, it's cool. Don't worry about it." And he's just totally fine. He's just like, "Yeah, I'm good." He follows up, and I fucking thought this was hilarious. He goes, "You may have taken away my powers, but you can't take away the fiery passion of a ginger." And I was like, oh my fucking God. It was like, and my younger brother, our friend Matthew, he's a ginger. And I was like, dude, those gingers, man. Oh.
But it's such a cool little piece of art where he's quoting that, because it's like him, like he's got the fucking like shining eyes, like I will murder you. Oh, it's so great.
I believe the passion of a ginger is mentioned a little bit earlier as well.
It is.
Yes.
So there's like a nice tie back in.
So then another big cool fight ensues. Once again, the art is just fantastic. Yeah. And it ends up with everybody being kind of frozen in place. And that's when they find out they're being railroaded, which just, another story term was just fantastic. And so they start getting sucked towards Saga. And it's like, oh, shit, what are we going to do? I have my broken tablet that Muse got to Adi. And it's like, well, and they get eaten. They get fucking eaten. It's just like, I thought they were going to break out of the mouth, like a very cliche, like bust out. Nah, they just fucking get straight eaten. And then there's a fat quote here followed by a lot of panels. Let me read the quote. It says, "Stranded in the infinite heart of the storyverse, Liam, Adi, and their muse took part in numerous adventures on their quest home, each more fantastic and grandiose than this one." And they show like a fuck ton of pictures of all the different adventures they went on, where it's like, I kind of got that as them flexing. They were like, yeah, hey, look at like this cool panel. We could do that. Look at this cool panel. I can do that as well.
Phenomenal if that's a fucking flex. Because
you want fantasy? We got fantasy.
Yeah.
You want horror? We got horror. Space? We can do space.
So I was reading it as a scroll down. So this is like a 2-page panel now that I'm seeing.
It's beautiful as a 2-page spread. Yeah.
I regret having not read it this way. But in the read down method, I had initially read what Sam had just read. And I got so worried. I was like, oh, are they going to fucking derail this hard and like just go into, now they're in the storyverse and they have to live their lives out? No. It's so good.
Yeah, so you kind of see this nice thing. They flex out their art skills and their genre hopping. And then eventually they burst out of the back of Saga. And then you see all three of them standing next to each other. And they're like fucking like, you could see all the adventures they've gone through. They're like slightly upgraded. One's got like a fucking lobster arm. Yeah. It's like Adi's looking like a god. It's just like, okay. It was just like so crazy. It was like, okay. So they immediately, another big fight happens. And Liam gets pierced through his chest almost instantly. Like,
yes,
it was so quick. And basically we get a sweet 2-page spread of Adi going beast mode, as he calls it, which is once again fantastic.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And so they kind of do some more backstory about how being a mangaka works, and how there have been many mangaka before who've worked themselves into death in their past, and how Adi would be like, yeah, he would kind of be happy to fall into that. So there's a good chance Adi might die here. And so we see Liam kind of laying on the ground next to Muse, and he starts to like slowly evaporate into pages, like he's dying and he's going to become part of the story. And that's when we get this really sad tidbit. Well, once again, I did not know about Osamu Tezuka, where the quote is, when he was on his deathbed from stomach cancer, the nurse had to take away his pen from him, and his last words were, "I'm begging you, let me work." And I was like, that is depressing as fuck.
Yeah.
I found that really sad. And they use that as kind of like a motivational thing, for Adi, where they're like, I think they say the mangaka's lifeblood is manga, and through the stories they can live forever. So he screams out, "Let me work," and that's when he kind of goes,
he stabs himself in the chest, too.
Yeah, and then Liam reappears behind him like, hey, yeah, good job, Adi. Because Liam was kind of telling him that through a floating page that was going by. I was like, hey, Adi, don't forget this. Yeah. And so Liam reappears. Adi does blood ink, which once again, fucking holy crap. And then we get the full Odysseus Theodoratos. I hope I said that right. That's his full name. And he puts the pen basically to the ground, and you get a fucking crazy just like splat of just like he instantly eviscerates this giant thing that we know as Saga. And so we get toward the end, what basically like, hey, what's next for Conquest Comics? And it's like, oh, we're going to finish up Xenotype Pursuit for the contest. And that's what the last page is. It's them walking down this city towards what I assume is the main character of Xenotype Pursuit in the background. And once again, just a beautiful picture. It's like, holy shit.
So good.
The art in this was incredible.
The art was super clean, so good.
And it boggles me because like we've seen submissions from like groups where it's like there's multiple people that are submitting as like a team. I think it's just these two, and if it's just these two, they had a phenomenal fucking story and a phenomenal set of art. Like, just blew me the fuck away. So
yeah, I thought it was
GG.
really good. I felt a little weird at the end when it was like, man, was this just a big advertisement for their other manga?
I have that as a note too, because like it's like, are they going to continue this? Because I like this, or is
Yeah.
this just a big ad for Xenotype?
Well, you do see ads for Xenotype in the city in the background and stuff like that. So it's I noticed it as we were reading or like going over this. I was reading through and I saw Xenotype stuff.
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
I
right
said,
from the beginning they mentioned Xenotype.
Yeah,
I think
the
it might
other
be a
one's
project
out.
that they already have.
yeah,
And now they're just trying to get it into Jump as like its own thing.
Yeah. But would you say that after having read this, I mean, personally, I want to read the fuck out of Xenotype. Like, if they did anything on this level, just like the level of gorgeousness in the art, the amount of like detail in the story, and like understanding of everything going on, like, full ship, I'll fucking read it. I don't care. That's awesome.
yeah. This one kind of reminded me of there was an anime that came out recently. It's like Keep Your Hands Off of Aizoken, and the setup for that is basically they're in a school and they have a manga club, and well, they have an anime club, and when they start working on it, they kind of get sucked into the story and like they kind of like animate around them. It was like, oh, that's kind of like this, but hardcore, more shonen.
Yeah.
And it was very funny and good. I was like, wow, I like this. This is great. But then it was like it got to the end, and I was like, oh, so it's like it's very clearly like, hey, read our manga, read this other one. You like this? Read that, because I'm sure that other one is probably going to be like a legit story. Like, here's our legit one shot. But still, I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah. I honestly hate to say it because I know we've been doing this for a few weeks and we've had some like really good ones. This is my favorite so far, like hands down. Like it has won the contest for me. But I'm not like a judge, but like fuck, everything was so good about it. So
No, it is very good. I agree. As a person who has done the whole creative writing thing before, it speaks to me on a personal level. So I do like it a lot. I will say Sam left out a character. There is a dog who appears multiple times to kind of show that they are self-aware of their wordiness.
Yes.
And he reappears quite sassily at the end.
This is true.
So I just wanted to make sure that the puppy got his due diligence in there. But I do get more of the feeling that this was an ad for Xenotype. But you know, if they kind of continued this as like a, hey, we're doing a manga now, and it's serialized, we got to do this weekly, you know, kind of Bakuman style, but still in this like actiony type way. That would be something that's very unique and very cool.
I agree with that.
But yeah, I don't know if this particular Crossroads Strive is more of like them showing their you know, art style, their abilities, and their, you know, dedication, having this one and another submission, you know, Xenotype, or if it's an actual submission and they can, you know, kind of continue it and run with it.
So I think the dream setup for them would be hopefully the judges read this one first and then they go into reading the other one, because then it's like they got the butter, they're feeling good, and then they move into the other one and it's like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah. So those were the 4 we read this week, where I feel like it's pretty clear which one we all like.
Yeah.
You know, not to just throw that out immediately. But just to recap, we just did X-Roads Strive, or Crossroads Strive, and the story was by Gray, art by Odysseys, who is the character in it, so there you go. Emila the Slayer by Nathan Mawawa, Sekai no Jikken by Osahon Ojo, and Decay, which is the story, is by Cody Bemis, and art by Zach Williams. So are we all in agreement that Crossroads was the best one? Are we just going to...
I do agree, but I would also like to say, if Crossroads wasn't in here, I feel like all the other ones we read were still good. So, but yeah, Crossroads is just on a different level, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely one of the instances where the other ones could have won in other weeks.
Yeah.
But Crossroads is just it was fantastic.
yeah,
But I will say, second place for me would be Emila the Slayer.
Yeah.
Shout that one out. It's good.
I agree.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. We will be back next week with more Jump Tezuka stuff. Big congrats to the people for Crossroads Strive. Once again, stories by Gray and the art is by Odysseys. We loved it. We thought it was good. We'll probably be checking out your manga in the future weeks at some point. So with that, guys, be sure to stick around. Be sure to like and subscribe. We do these 3 weeks out of the month because we have to take a week off for our regular Mangaku, where we just read actual published manga, and we kind of do the same thing for them there. So thanks for watching. This has been the Jump Tezuka video with me, Sam, Josh, and JJ. We'll see you guys next time.